What do you wish Hollywood would stop doing? Making it impossible to hear the dialogue. This is a problem with everyone I know. I think there will be a time when people look back at movies and say, this movie must have been made between 2010 and 2025, because you can't hear a damn thing anyone is saying. There is absolutely nothing wrong with my hearing, but I need closed captions on everything I watch now. Having a main character whose job or income level does not match their home or lifestyle at all. Working at a fast food joint? Better have an apartment with great furniture all to yourself in Upper East Side Manhattan, and every time they have ice cream it's Ben & Jerry's. Milking everything dry. When did they release Ice Age 6? They kinda already did. Scenes that are too dark to actually see. If I wanted to listen to a show, I'd download an audiobook. Thank you. That is my biggest pet peeve as well. Especially prevalent in horror films. Yes, I get it's supposed to be dark and scary, but honestly you can't see anything. Not true. If there is any form of light in your house, you will see yourself in the reflection of your TV. Spoiling the film in the trailers. The worst one I saw was Batman v Superman, where they give away in the trailers that Batman and Superman join up at the end to fight a common enemy. Completely did away with any mystery of how such a rivalry would be resolved. Still not as bad as Terminator 2 Judgment Day, where they show Arnold being on the good side. Whispering or mumbling dialogue, then cutting to a chase scene, dramatic posing close-ups. Quiet dialogue which makes you crank the volume up so you can hear it better, then a super loud action scene happens and the speakers to your TV explode. Showing incorrect CPR. Shocking someone without a heart rhythm. Just do what the AED tells you to do. No thinking required. Forcing a love story that makes no sense in a movie that has nothing to do with romance. Why can't they just be friends? Why is platonic friends a just? Platonic friends should be valued more. Adapting crap into live-action movies where they should really be animated. Examples include upcoming Mega Man, Pac-Man, and Minecraft movies which are all set to be live-action. How do you make a live-action, ghost-hunting, sentient piece of cheese? Messing up the sound mix so that we have to constantly adjust the volume for music and dialogue. On my Roku TV, there is an option called sound leveling. I can actually watch stuff now without constantly having to adjust the volume. It's a handy feature, but it wouldn't be necessary if they stopped screwing up the sound mix. And what makes me even angrier is when they screw this up in a series. You guys know people are going to watch this on their home TV, and yet you are still doing this. All great answers, but what I've seen lately is just a lot of wacky decision-making. There are multiple video game adaptation movies and TV shows coming out lately that missed the mark completely. Resident Evil, Halo, etc. I know adaptations always have their quirks and things that would outrage a fanbase, but geez, the Halo TV show really felt like they just wanted to write their own story with already existing characters. It all comes down to an executive decision. I just wish the creators have more control over their projects, instead of having execs with no creative abilities suggesting maybe you should make the super soldier get out of his augmented power armor and instead just fight naked. Also make him want to bang the enemy like Romeo and Juliet. The showrunner was quoted as saying, "We, writers, didn't look at the games." He has obviously backtracked on and said that it was taken out of context, and they did play the games previously. This means they did know the story and still screwed it up. Not sure what is worse. They could have literally let each game level be its own episode, and that would have made such an amazing series. You can make new characters and still keep the old story points intact. Write a compelling story between some of the nameless NPC soldiers, while also hitting the story marks of the games with the existing characters. Characters getting punched multiple times in the face in one scene and having no signs of the trauma in the next scene. Or shot, but they remove the bullet in a dirty motel and sew it up with twine and knitting needles, so now it doesn't hurt anymore and they can go fight more bad guys unencumbered. Not Hollywood, I guess, but in Frasier, the father got shot in the leg or something and now needs physical therapy and walks with a cane for life. This may sound ridiculous, but here it is. I cannot stand characters who are driving and talking to a passenger but not watching the road. They think the same courtesy rules of eye contact apply, even when you are a conservant behind the wheel. You're driving a vehicle. Watch the road, not the person to whom you're talking. Bonus points if the scene is in a city setting, especially if it's New York. You'd think they'd encounter at least one red light or person crossing the road. I said once on a different thread, I'd love to see someone do an edit where they add sound effects like horns blaring, crashing, thuds, people screaming. Pretty sure there was a scene like this either in one of the Airplane movies or one of the Naked Gun movies. Pretty sure it was a movie with Leslie Nielsen, though. Making movies where the one good guy defeats 20 bad guys because the 20 bad guys attack the one good guy one by one. When I watch these fight scenes nowadays, I ignore the main fight and just look at the other bad guys waiting their turn. It's hilarious. They strike weird poses, fall over themselves just to writhe around like zombies. Some recent movies try to avoid this by closing in on the fight itself, which usually makes things even more confusing and incoherent. Casting attractive people in ugly roles. Like when the obviously gorgeous person gets a makeover. For 15 years, I've wondered what exactly was ugly about Ugly Betty. Oh, she has braces and glasses. Must be hideous. Stop having people take like one bite of what they ordered and then leave. It's a small thing, but I've never seen it happen in real life. Or worse, order something when they just intend to talk to someone there for a couple of minutes and then leave when the food arrives. Who pays for it? Sometimes they'll take a wad of cash and throw it on the table without seeing a bill or even checking how much money they're putting down. Empty cups. I hate seeing people holding cups and pretending to take drinks from obviously empty cups. Their hands never move right, or if it's an open cup, you can literally see that it's empty. Like, at least add water so they have weight. You don't even actually have to put coffee or something in them. Literally water with food coloring will do, to make it appear to be a different drink or whatever. Remakes of good movies. I don't understand why they remake good movies when there are tons of flops that have potential that they could remake. Like, there was absolutely no need to remake Total Recall. It's an iconic movie, but something like Aragon or The Golden Compass, those should get remakes. Sequels, prequels, remakes, reimaginings, reboots, etc. I 100% agree. Unless they take the Brady route and lampoon the original. Unfortunately, Top Gun, Maverick, I'm sure unleashed a whole new bunch that were on the fence about putting into production. We are farther in time from the Brady movie than the Brady movie was from the show. Pretending people can actually have a conversation in a bar without yelling. As an addition, when two people find a nice bar late at night, completely empty by coincidence, and talk over whiskey. The only bar you're finding empty at night is Greasy Frank's bar in the slums of Chicago. Putting CGI first rather than the story. CGI should be there to back up practical effects, not the other way around. This is why Fury Road was so great. Treating child stars like crap. I was watching a YouTube video about Dan Schneider. Apparently Nickelodeon chose Florida to film their shows because of the lack of child labor laws. They also purposefully chose kids whose parents were more likely to be absent or neglectful so they could control the kids more. Like, what? Female action stars that fight in high heels. And put your hair in a ponytail, for crying out loud. No one wants hair on their face during a fight. This is my biggest thing. I grew up with waist-length hair, and there was no way I was doing any athletic activities without pulling my hair back. I was so happy when they had Moana pull her hair back every time she needed to focus. Much more realistic. The endless attempts at creating universes. Please stop. Not only Hollywood, individual stories are fine. Not everything needs to be connected into a single narrative. The parts I did not like from some of the Asimov books were precisely the parts that try to retcon previous works into a single boring narrative. I wish Hollywood would stop treating the medium of animation as something inherently inferior to live action. I also wish 2D animation was used for more movies. I completely agree. There's a unique magic in hand-drawn animation. I'd even appreciate a mix of 2D and 3D, or animation and live action. Mixing 2D and 3D is dope. I've seen it in a music video, and added to fast-paced editing, made everything so dynamic and cohesive, I really wish it was a thing in more movies and TV series. Also, in a recent MCU series, it has been done, but I don't remember which one because I haven't watched it. Using that sandy brown filter on Middle Eastern cities, and Mexico. Like, come on. But how else are we supposed to know these are desolate places that are probably awful to live in? Oh wow, lady, you're surprisingly good at punching and shooting and hunting, anything other than sewing. Thanks, I grew up with 14 brothers. Also, when a guy is actually respectful to women, it's because he had sisters. Casting 20-somethings to play teenagers and then constantly putting them in sexual situations. For all the silly and not so silly reasons why, it always bugs me how so much media, and not just media for teens, media for adults, is about unsupervised high schoolers played by 20-somethings drinking and committing a crime, but very little media is set in college at all. It would eliminate a lot of the weirdness. Why do they all have huge houses with pools, unlimited alcohol, no parents, tons of money, and no jobs? Like, that's not even possible. I met a few kids with absent parents, but the way Euphoria and other shows depict high school parties is absurd. Lately, so many movies are dark scene. Watching old movies, I can actually see what's going on. In a lot of new movies, I can barely discern what the heck is going on. It could be daytime in the scene, and it feels like nighttime. Also, I can't hear crap anymore in movies. They're loud mumbling. I agree. So many movies take a fantasy setting and think, let's make it dark. Why not give the movies the colors they deserve? People like colors. Usually you do dark scenes to cover up bad CGI. Not that it's an excuse for anything. Casting the same 10 actors in everything. Let's get some new blood in there. No matter how talented they are, once an actor reaches a certain point, I only see them and not their character. When I watched Jojo Rabbit, I thought of Roman Griffin Davis and Thomasin McKenzie as Jojo and Elsa. Scarlett Johansson was just Scarlett Johansson, Dwayne Johnson. Inserting romance in movies or shows that don't need it. Not every guy and gal that meet on screen have to end up together. Despite what PUAs might say, they can just be friends. And how about romance between two characters who appear to have zero chemistry and no attraction to each other? Remaking everything over and over. Please let people write new stories. I don't mind the idea of remakes, but Hollywood should remake movies that flopped or were otherwise underwhelming. They shouldn't remake masterpieces. Manos, The Hand of Fate could be a good story. The execution of it, though. Shaky cam action fight scenes. No, this is not artistic. Your choreography just sucks and you have to hide it. I especially love shaky cam in non-action fight scenes. Just why? Like Liam Neeson jumping a fence. Casting 35-year-olds as high schoolers. Can we add casting 16 to 18-year-olds to play 11-year-olds? Priya Ferguson was 16 when she played 11-year-old Erica Sinclair in Stranger Things Season 4. Glamorizing mental illness. It sucks and is difficult to live with. Did you know autism makes you a mega genius? I wish. Mine just makes me weird and lonely. Making all the explosions and sound effects 100 times louder than the dialogue. The same movies over and over again. I have no problem with story structures being similar, but when we are on our 10th Predator movie and 11th Fast and Furious and 200th Marvel project, it just starts to get the same and boring. Similarly, remaking movies that have no need of being remade. Generally, this means dumbing down dialogue, adding some stupid side story, or swapping animation for live action, or vice versa. Leave great movies alone and come up with some original new ideas. Stop recreating bad versions of good classic movies. Stop using spectacular CGI to distract from a subpar plot. I'm looking at you, Disney. I always wondered what it would be like if people chose to remake bad stuff and make it better. It seems more logical. Making women perfect all the time. I don't want to see a post-apocalyptic world or a safari adventure where the women have their makeup done, hairstyled, and armpits shaved. It's incredibly unrealistic, but then again, so is everything else. All the guys look like mountain men, but the women look like supermodels on their off days. Medical shows without consulting medical people. Same here, but with lawyers. So frustrating. Are you telling me you can't read an entire document in 3 seconds before declaring this will never hold in court? Casting really well-known, good-looking actors as voice actors. Why not hire someone that might have a harder time getting lead roles in live-action movies? The name of the A-list actors, as well as their recognized voices, goes far towards selling movies. It's basically all about the bottom line. Animation and live-action movies are expensive to make. Voice acting is a skill on its own, though. Where a screen actor has the skill to portray emotion and depth through body language and expressions, a voice actor can do that through their voice. It's not mutually exclusive, but I find it a shame that animation gigs are given to famous screen actors. Protecting predators. Finally, this answer should be repeated by everyone all the time. Just hanging up after a phone conversation without saying goodbye pisses me off for some reason, and agreeing to go on a date with someone and just leaving without exchanging a time or location. How does Saturday sound? Oh, Saturday is perfect. Great, see you then. Depicting allergies and asthma as nerdy, all-in-your-head conditions that a person can outgrow through confidence and personal will. First thing that comes to mind is Cobra Kai. Johnny just went, throw that crap away. Asthma does not exist in this dojo. and Miguel just doesn't have asthma, though it can be sort of explained away as Miguel training hard lessened the symptoms. The point though is that Johnny is an idiot, and yeah, like you said, from what I understand, certain conditioning can lessen symptoms. Reboots and sequels. Come up with something new, especially quit with making substandard remakes of successful non-English language films. Market the originals and trust people to be able to follow subtitles instead of producing plastic knockoffs. Having dialogue you can barely hear, so you turn the sound up only for it to be followed by explosions or super dramatic music that rattles your speakers and eardrums. Creepy, controlling, manipulative, stalkerish behavior is presented as romantic. Just no. Making them rich and gorgeous does not make it okay either. Female characters who are kick-ass good or kick-ass evil usually have the sole motivation of some man done her wrong. CGI is not a replacement for a strong story, engaging character development, and good actors. It's like getting a pretty gift box on your birthday and finding out that there's actually no gift inside. Redirect some of the budget towards substance rather than style. Characters hanging from one hand. Extra points if they're holding someone with the other hand. That's impossible, especially if they fell 100 feet and then caught that branch, right? It's always in suboptimal situations, swinging from a helicopter or after taking a bullet, never in the comfort of your living room after a solid breakfast. Shoehorning queer characters into storylines just to educate straight audiences about queer culture. I want to see more queer characters whose identity doesn't serve the plotline or do it in an organic way. Example of good representation, in my opinion, Sense8. Y'all can keep it representation, in my opinion, atypical. This, but for any underrepresented group. Have a 25-year-old actress play the love interest to a 50-year-old man. They keep the men as love interests up into their dotage, but they keep asking for younger and younger women as their counterparts. Roger Moore quit his role as James Bond because of this. He kept getting older, but his female co-stars stayed the same age over the years, and he realized how absurd it was. Sex scenes in movies and shows that don't need it. Thanks for the 20 seconds of discomfort sitting next to a family member or friend or stranger, for half-undressed people making out against a door to show us that they're in a relationship. If seeing them half-naked for 20 seconds doesn't advance the plot, I would prefer some actually thought-out plot and dialogue. Thanks. They just don't go far enough. The world is ready for full penetration in a blockbuster. And then he smells crime again. He's out busting heads. Then he's back to the lab for some more full penetration. Smells crime, back to the lab. Full penetration. Crime, penetration. Crime, full penetration. Crime, penetration. And this goes on and back and forth for 90 or so minutes until the movie just sort of ends. Only focusing on sexual relations. Most movies never focus on two normal friends. It always has to include hot and steamy sex for some reason. That's why kids shows work really well, because most children's shows don't have relationships that include more than just friends. Like in Avatar, though they give hints that Aang and Katara like each other, they make them out to just be friends, until the finale, of course. Aang crushes on Katara for most of the show, and the development of their relationship into a romance does have moments before the finale, the cave, for one. Avatar is a terrible example of what OP is looking for. It's explicitly cast as a romantic interest, albeit in a TVY7 way, from minute one of them being on screen together. The cave episode, the fortune teller episode, the Day of Black Sun, all have pretty explicit references to Aang's romantic interest. Casting middle-aged women to play elderly women, just making their hair white. Casting late 20s or early 30s women to play middle-aged women and just dressing them up in frumpy clothes. Casting late 20s actors to play high school students. Hollywood considers any women over 25 to be elderly. The new trend is where you show this cool built-up team for them to die immediately. Trope made in the last couple of years, already overplayed. Except in Deadpool 2, that was hilarious. I agree with what people posted about sound leveling for music versus quiet conversations and other comments made. My addition is two things I don't think were posted. Stop using the Wilhelm scream in movies, because sometimes it doesn't even match the scene. Stop using tell over show. Sometimes movies exposition dump when they could just trust the audience to reason it out themselves. The whole point of pictures is to show the audience through cinematic storytelling. Countdowns to teen actresses turning 18. Let the paint dry a bit there, bud. I agree. I remember back in the day when guys used to wait for Emma Watson to turn 18, so it wouldn't be weird if they wanted to bang her. I mean, couldn't they hear themselves and what they were actually saying? Having all the characters be some type of trendy creative professional or generic upscale office worker. Like, can I get some shows with normal middle class or poor people in them? Can't a bartender or an electrician fall in love too? Too much CGI. Hire the freaks, athletes, and outliers. Hollywood has outsourced any real skill or talent to a computer program. Now they just hire pretty faces who can't even begin to do a stunt. Acting must be super hard against a green screen. I guess I just want them to be more authentic and use real talented people instead of some fake-ass CGI. Misrepresenting autism as a whole. It's a spectrum, yes, but as an autistic person, it feels like they never do it right. Weirdly, Abed was pretty correct to me, including the stuff about having a hard time with tying shoes, analog clocks, and telling left from right. I also 100% imitated TV characters constantly as a kid. I am trying to wipe this from my memory. So Abed is oddly correct. Rain Man and that guy from Ready Player One are not. Hyping up PR relationships. Not just fake romantic relationships, but also using joking comments made in one interview as though it's actually dissatisfaction and criticism. It gets back around to colleagues, like so-and-so thinks the show is trash. These are workplaces. Lazy entertainment media gets engagement by disrupting professionalism. They love making coworkers hate each other for nothing. My coworkers love to play this game, where they grab the most innocuous book off of my shelves and demand that it be banned. I have them come up with a reason why it should plausibly be banned in the United States. If we were in the entertainment industry, this would get reported as a legitimate assault on civil liberties by the very people who are supposed to safeguard them. It would destroy the camaraderie. Take Stranger Things. Millie Bobby Brown jokingly said that she wished the Duffer Brothers killed people off like Game of Thrones. For a good month, the story was that she thought the show was soft, the Duffer Brothers were cowards, etc. The press dragged the Duffer Brothers into this, trying to drive a wedge between them because of a joke. If they didn't get along so well, I could imagine this derailing the show completely. Unusually beautiful people everywhere. Can we get some movies with average-looking people, please? You can be funny-looking and be a total magnet. Rom-com movies. They're all the same. The movie starts off showcasing a man and a woman's life, then they meet up in some unexpected way. They don't expect to get along, then they do. But then before the final act, a misunderstanding happens and they break up. But at the end of the movie, they're all happy again. Those movies are so predictable, they should just stop making them. Forcing ideas or characters into the movies and shows which are adapted from a book. I really have a problem when they outright change the original work, just for the sake of pleasing some lunatics or some crazy minorities. I hope you understand what I mean. Acting like if a woman's water breaks, she needs to rush to the hospital because delivery is imminent. The reason for that isn't because she is giving birth right away after the water breaks. It's the possibility of a prolapsed umbilical cord. My son nearly died from this. Telling ordinary citizens that they shouldn't have guns while making movies about extreme violence, attending and throwing galas with extreme armed security, and living in gated communities with armed guards protecting them. Marvel and DC. Hollywood can only make a handful of big action movies every year because they don't want too much competition on any given weekend. How many awesome movies didn't get made because Marvel wanted to make Ant-Man 7, the search for more money? I want more movies and shows about people of all ages, especially people over 50. It's an issue that rarely is considered when talking about the lack of diverse stories. Additionally, Hollywood too often casts older men with younger women as romantic interests. Regardless of the narrative, most everyone I know dates or marries people close to their own age. Try British programming, it's often a breath of fresh air. Using Kevin Hart, The Rock, and Ryan Reynolds in every damn thing. I put on movies with those actors when I want to put on a movie without feeling any obligation to pay attention. Women living in post-apocalyptic hellscapes and have shaved armpits and legs as well as flawless makeup. Casting male and female leads who are decades apart. It just looks silly. It's getting worse, too. I've seen many movies where the romantic lead is in his 60s and his leading lady is in her 30s, and they have a young family. It looks awkward and silly. It also costs good female actresses work. This appeals to the men in their 60s demographic, I'm sure. But what about the rest of us? You know a guy doesn't have to be gay in order to be friends with a female character. Obvious empty cups, suitcases, and boxes. Casting 25-year-old women in mother roles when they wouldn't have a 16-year-old kid, for example. Make sure you use protection. Mom, I'm 14. Yes, dear, and I'm 28. casting the same nepotism actors and actresses. They should give other people who actually had to work hard to get into the industry a chance. Promoting the green initiative while all the A and B listers fly private jets all over the world. How is it they promote cut emissions but run up so many millions of emissions themselves? Writing about crap they have no idea about and then making it into a TV show or movie. Please no more military or cop shows. NCIS is a disgrace. Also, no one is poor. Even two broke girls have a nice apartment. It's just not realistic at all. I think what the writers don't get is that when they write about things or people they don't know about, they are condescending and insulting to them. Please just stop. Thanks for watching until the end. If you'd like to share a similar opinion, please feel free to do so in the comments section below. We'd love to read about it. Then be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to hit that notification bell so you know whenever we upload. There's lots more awesome videos like this one on the channel, so be sure to stop by and see another one. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.